Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Big Joe Recovery. We got a special edition today with a good friend of mine from my AA fellowship. Nice man, he's been around, got a lot of wisdom to share, and I hopefully somebody here today will get a great message from this young man right here. And I want to tell you a little bit about what Big Joe Recovery is. And it's about finding the big picture inside of you. You know, your journey in recovery, how you find it, and the different types of ways that you do it. For me personally, I'm a man of multiple pathways. You know, obviously AA is my first and foremost fellowship, and I'm also involved in the other fellowship, Narcotics Anonymous. I reach out with journaling. You've been to a CCAR before. You've been to a couple groups. So without further ado, it's just another way to recover at your own pace. And I want people to be able to learn from people like you what they can do or take suggestions in trying to get better and what we are overcoming, the addiction disease. Without further ado, please introduce yourself to the beautiful audience here.
Okay, everybody. Hi, everybody. My name is Dave. I'm a recovering member of AA, and I've known Joe for a while now. And I've agreed to, share a little bit about my life and my things that interest me and things like that, And I take my life, I'm almost 82 years old. I take my life one day at a time or one moment at a time sometimes. And because really that's all I have. I've got 40 years of sobriety.
Yes, that's amazing. That is.
I guess it is, but you know what I always say, I don't want to get all puffed up about that because that could be 40 seconds, 40 minutes, or 40 days, because that's all water over the dam right now. Memories, good, bad, and indifferent, but I'm not dealing with that now. I'm dealing with right now in my life, and the decisions that I make now, I want to make better decisions in my life than I've made in the past, let me put it that way,
True.
And because I've made some good decisions, and some maybe not so good decisions, which have influenced where I am now, basically, in my life and so forth. But all I have is now. I don't have the last 40 years. I have today. That's it. That's why I'm sitting here with Joe.
The next 24, right?
Yes, exactly. The next 24, absolutely.
You know what I tell people all the time, Dave, is that we have the slogan in the other fellowship, just for today, and there's a reading for it.
Okay.
And that's all we have is a day. I have my recovery for today, and my higher power, God willing, my God of my understanding, He woke me up today to do better than I did yesterday.
Okay.
So I could do that today. And I love sharing that with others because, like you said, there's nothing we can change from the past except learn from it, right? Learn from the past and move forward. And what have you learned over these 40 years, like on a daily, that keeps you going? Because I know you still show up to meetings religiously.
Yep.
Multiple meetings a week, right?
Oh, yeah.
Please talk about it a little bit.
Well, I do that because it keeps me sober, because, I live alone in this building, and loneliness can get the better of a person, and I know that, So when I start to get lonely, I do two things usually. One, I'll go to an in-person AA meeting, or number two, I will go to a AA Zoom meeting. Because when you hear and see people at a Zoom meeting, let's say, and you see their faces, you hear what they're saying, you hear maybe the good things about what's going on and the bad things, not so good things, So that helps me to know that, life, as they say, is not a bowl of cherries, and all the time anyway.
No whipped cream?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess we all want it to be that way. I know I wish it was that way, but it turns out that's not the way it is, So, but it's a lot more bearable and a lot more livable when I'm sober, and so it's as simple as that. I've made a lot of friends in AA. I can't make friends with everybody because that is an impossibility.
Yes.
It's never going to happen.
Nope.
No one will ever understand me completely. I will never understand Joe completely, or Harry or whoever else,
We all have our own perceptions on life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what makes us all unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really does. Because I don't live in your shoes 24/7, and you don't live in my shoes 24/7. And that's what I make known to some people. I'm like, listen, you don't know what I'm doing all day long. And nor do I have to tell you what I'm doing all day long. As long as I know that I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And it always is to help the next person, some way, shape, or form throughout the day. Even with the 3 jobs that I have, building my recovery business, and I'm still present, and there's nothing greater than helping the next person. Because you know what? I might have a smile on my face, but maybe I'm hurting inside a little bit.
Yep.
I'm one of those guys that even in recovery, I don't talk about everything that's going wrong in my life. I think that a lot of us do that. How do you cope with things compared to your past? Like when you were in addiction, dealing with a problem compared to where you're at today. Like how do you handle things when they come at you sideways? I know you've overcome quite a few things. You had a lot of questions that you had to go get answers to.
Yep.
And you know what was a big thing for me is when you came down to CCAR, you took a suggestion to come down and expand out the AA fellowship.
Yep.
That's difficult for some people, especially with 40-something years.
Yep.
Comfortability.
Yep.
So what works for you besides just staying present? Like I know you connect with a lot of people. That helps you throughout the day?
Oh yeah, for sure. I went to an in-person AA meeting this morning on Capitol Avenue in Hartford, and there were probably about maybe 10 people there. Some of them I've known for many years, like 40 years. A couple of them I've known for about 40 years. And then some people that I met maybe 2 weeks ago, a month ago.
Yeah.
And so, so I don't know what I'm trying to say. I listen, I try to listen carefully. I try to think, well, sometimes I think, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Do I want to can I help this person in some way? Or maybe I can.
Yeah.
Maybe there are some things that, here's an example. There are some people in AA that I know that have schizophrenia, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? They're well adjusted within their limitations, and we all have limitations. They take their medication.
Yep.
They're respectable human beings. They function. They pay their rent. They drive cars. They do a lot of. They're members of AA.
Mm-hmm.
They go to AA meetings and so forth. So a person may have had an illness or even depression. I've gone through depression myself.
Oh, yeah.
And that especially it was worse when I was drinking. It was much worse when I was drinking. But when I was a kid, when I was 11 years old, I didn't know what it was at the time. I had 11, but I went into what I now know was a depression, and my parents were very aware. We lived in Bristol, and so they took me to a child psychiatrist here in Hartford. And we talked. I saw him for probably about 9 months, and of course, the idea of a 9-year-old. Well, let's say no, 11 years old. That's right, 11-year-old kid is not what it is at my stage of life. I was born with no fingers on my right hand, and the problem with that, I'm right-handed. That's the bad part. I'm right-handed, and I've had to learn how to use my left hand, which I can do, but I don't have the coordination in my left side of my body that I have in the right-hand side of my body. That's something that happens at birth,
Yeah.
So that was always a frustration to me. I resented it, especially when we had sports. ¿Cómo está?
Oh, you're
Good to see you. Okay. Mucho gusto. Gran placer.
Igual.
Okay.
Passerby.
Cuídese.
Sí, señor.
Dave also speaks Spanish. Habla más poquito, sí.
Yeah, there we go. That's right.
Mucho entiende para hablar.
But as I say, when I was a young person, it used to bother me like it's sports,
It's frustrating, very frustrating.
Very frustrating, But I think the natural tendency to avoid frustration as in life as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so, especially in sports, a lot of them I just completely took it out of my mind, or But I took up reading, which was something I could do and not feel disabled or handicapped or anything like that. And it became a real passion with me, to the point where I became a book collector, and I have been a book collector all of my life, especially now that I have a little more money than I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, that helps.
That always helps, and I don't have a lot of really expensive books, but I have some very interesting books.
My grandmother used to say, "No money, no funny," with the Polish accent.
Okay, all right, there you go. She was right too.
Yeah, she is right. Yeah.
No money, no funny. Exactly.
One thing I wanted to share with the audience was that we were just talking about reading and how that helps in our recovery. I know I didn't know it goes far back, as you were young, you were a big reader.
Oh, yeah.
I know you've always been collecting books, but like we were just talking about Emily Dickinson, and you schooled me with a little lesson, and that's also what I think we need to share with the younger generations in recovery, that we can all get along, no matter what your age is. I'm half your age, and we get along just fine. And I had this gravitation with Dave when I walked into the fellowship, my home group, back April 24th, 2023, being released from prison. And it was like I found my home, and everyone that was there, that's still there to today, just welcome. That's the thing, the welcoming of the unity, that we're all trying to do accomplish the same goal, get better daily. In our recovery, and knowing that our character defects are going to pop up, and how to manage them without bringing the bottle to our faces, right?
Yeah.
And there's a story you always tell, and I want to share it with the audience, because you know what? I think it will touch somebody that needs to be touched today. And that's that story I think you said in the late 70s, early 80s with your cab. When you first got sober, you had some clean time.
Yep.
And then you went back out because of complacency, right?
Yep.
Can you tell us that story so the audience can hear that?
Sure. Well, okay, the first time I was in AA was about early in 1978. I was 34 years old.
Okay.
And now alcohol had been kicking my butt, in a lot of ways. I passed blood in my urine a few times. That wasn't very good. And also driving in blackouts, and the weird part of it is that I must have been very lucky, because I was never stopped by the Hartford police, never stopped by the state police or anything like that for driving under the influence. But I did it a lot. And I had a job, I call it a job, it's sort of a job. I was making a little money at it. Driving a car for a lady, her name was Edwina Uran, her name was. And she and her husband had an art gallery in downtown Hartford. Well, let me cut to the cut a bridge here. Cut it short.
Dave likes to get sidetracked. That's his thing.
I got sidetracked. The basic thing was that I heard the AA message. I did not take it all that seriously. My idea was that if I only drank beer, I would be all right. That was my idea.
Just a shot on the weekend.
Just a shot on the weekend.
Yeah, that's it.
And only one at a time.
Yes.
And only one at a time.
Not back to back.
Not back to back. No, that would mess me up a lot.
Oh, that'll get you every time.
Yeah, get me every time. So I drifted away from meetings, and even today I go to meetings because I know that. It's so essential that we stay in contact with something greater than myself. Yes. So I drifted away from the meetings, and I only drank beer for about 6 years. And then one day I got a job. I was driving a taxi in Hartford, yellow cab, and one day, it was September of 1984. It was a beautiful day. The leaves were turning. It was the fall. And I went out, and I couldn't have been dry. It wasn't working that day for some reason. And I went out, and I got a 6-pack of Budweiser, drank it. And folks, I always guzzled. I never sipped a drink in my life that I can remember anyway. I was a guzzler always.
It's gonna get warm too quick, right?
We get warm too quick. That's right. That was my
Mentality.
My mentality.
Yeah, it's sick. Yeah, mindset will get you.
Yeah, exactly. Every time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to drink while I was drinking. Of course, you're not supposed to do that,
Me
you
too.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And I drank that 6-pack. Now after I drank that 6-pack, the rest of the day is complete blackout. I don't know what happened, where it went, or anything like that, until about 8 o'clock at night when the package stores were about to close.
Yeah, that's when they close at 8. Yep.
And they closed at 8 in those days. And I went to a package store out near West Farms Mall in near Hartford there, and went there. And I got another 6-pack, which was Michelob, you know, and then quality beer. So quality beer. Yeah. So I drink that in my car, all 3 bottles. And I still have 3 bottles left. But I go home, I put the other 3 in the fridge, and I always emphasize this: I did not fall asleep. I passed out, folks.
Yes.
That night I passed out.
You didn't know it at the time, or did you?
I didn't know it at the time
Yeah.
what it was to be passing out like that, but I did pass out, and
It's scary. I
It
did
is
it quite a few times.
quite a few times. Yeah, and when I woke up, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and folks, this is the dramatic part or whatever. I had the shakes, folks, and having only one good serviceable hand and half of another hand. If I have the shakes and I've got a hole in the bottle in my left hand, I mean, it's not a good situation
Not
for a
at
person
all.
with one. Even a person with 2 hands, it's not a good thing. And it's not. And I knew not only did I have the shakes, but I also knew that I could not get back to sleep because alcohol, in my case, unless I'm really totally wasted, if I drink a little bit of alcohol, it will stimulate me. It will not soothe my nerves. It will stimulate my metabolism to the point where I will stay awake. And that's happened to me more than once. If I want to relax at night, I will drink milk now because milk soothes my nerves, and within probably 10, 15 minutes, I will be asleep. Well, that particular night, I have the shakes. I know I can't get back. I can't sleep, and I can't get back to sleep. I go in the fridge, and what does a good alcoholic do? I get out the 3 bottles of Michelob.
We know how to fix it.
We know how to fix that. I swill it down, and again, I feel better. You know. But then the thought, comes.
Your body relies on it.
My body relies on it, and and then I say, wait a minute. Yeah, you feel better, but why? You feel better because you're starting this cycle all over again. You're going back to the same old thing, the same old routine. Insanity, and thinking that your life will change or it'll get better or something like that.
Think a couple little tweaks here and there will fix it.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta make a drastic tweak.
You gotta make a drastic tweak.
Stop drinking.
Stop drinking. That was the drastic tweak right there. Stop drinking. And that's a big thing in a person's life.
So how did you get to the point where you just stopped? Did you go into treatment, or how did that work?
Well, I was lucky. I didn't have to go into treatment. I think it was because the first go round, there were so many blackouts, and I could tell you some of the blackouts, like trying to cook spaghetti when I'm really soused and I'm drinking vodka, and I'm going to cook some pasta. I cooked some pasta. I'm also going to cook the spaghetti sauce. Well, and I'm in a complete blackout, folks. And I wake up and the pasta's all cooked. But then I look at the wall behind the stove and it's all tomato sauce.
It boiled onto the wall.
Right. I guess I just didn't do a very good job. You know what I mean?
And that's hard to clean up.
It's kind of hard to clean off the wall. You know what I mean? So funny things like that, but they're not so funny when it's happening to me or you or another recovering alcoholic.
Could have burned the house down.
Could have burned the house down, exactly. And other things like, as they say, passing blood in my urine. That scared me a little bit. I went to the doctor. He asked me how much I was drinking, and I said, I probably lied a little bit.
Yeah, I think we all did.
Right.
Just a couple beers.
That's a couple of beers. After all, I'm just a moderate drinker. I'm not an alcoholic.
I got it under control.
I got it under control.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people in the program talk about hiding bottles if they have a house.
Ooh, yeah.
All, you know, in little crannies here.
Stash them in these flower pots. That's what I would do, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to look there.
Nobody's going to look at the damn flower pot. Come on. Yeah. But see, I didn't have a house, so my thing was, I felt, on some level, I felt embarrassed that I was drinking the way I was. And so what I would do, I would switch package stores.
Oh, yeah.
You know, one of that, you know.
Go twice to this one, a couple times to that one. Split it up a little bit.
Split it up a little bit. I don't want
I had that same mentality. That's crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
That's us addicts. We think alike.
Yeah. You know, I mean, he might think I've got an alcohol problem, for God's sake.
If we both thought that, I wonder what everyone else was thinking.
But everybody else was thinking. That's right. You know, I mean, that would ruin my reputation, for God's sakes. I don't even know if I have a reputation, but whatever reputation I have, it would be ruined.
Well, I was always loyal to one store no matter what. I'm sure they knew, hey, you got a problem. They're not going to tell you. They got to make their cut for the month, you know.
That's how they make their living, right?
Yeah.
Selling booze, selling alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, it's a business, you know, and if I or somebody else decide to get messed up or do get messed up, I mean, he doesn't know what we're gonna do when I drink. He assumes I'm gonna drink the booze, but maybe I'll have a little sip. But what if I have the whole bottle?
Yeah.
You know? Or the whole 6-pack in a night, or whatever, you know.
Because we tell ourselves, I'll save some for tomorrow, and 99% of the time we don't.
That's the whole deal, you know. And
one is too many, and 1,000's never enough, right?
1,000 are never enough. I used to drink at a bar in Hartford. Now it's called Piggy's Cafe, but in those days it was the Palace Grill, and it was on Hawthorne Street, near one block away from the Aetna Insurance Company. And also about another block away about a block and a half from the Mark Twain House, which is on Farmington Avenue in Hartford. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I used to drink there, and I was drinking beer, and I'd spend half the time urinating in the toilet, peeing out the alcohol, you know, and then a lot of bad, you know, my sexual needs were way out of whack. I mean, I remember one time I was really very, very drunk, and it was in the summertime, and I left the Palace Cafe there, and it was probably near 1 o'clock in the morning, let's say, and there was a young guy there that happened to live on Imlay Street, which is near that particular bar, and so I was sitting there, and I'm in the car, and I had some cash money on me, and I said, I want to get a woman, and I need a woman, you know. So he said, I'll get you a woman.
Yeah.
I'll get you a woman.
Not the right way. Very illegal. So we'll leave that story alone.
Yeah,
we'll leave that one alone.
Well, actually, I never got the woman, which was the sad part.
That's the good part, actually, if you think about it.
That's the good part.
You might not be sitting here right now talking to me. You might be sitting in jail.
I might be sitting in jail for that. That's exactly. What happened was he snatched I had $40 in my hand. He snatched it out of my hand and ran down the street. And I knew who he was. I knew basically his name, and somehow I knew where he lived. And
another addict, huh?
Another addict, and the following day, I went there and knocked on the door of their apartment, and of course they're not gonna give me a penny out of this, you know.
Happened to me 100 times.
Yeah, you know, and you know, so what do I do then? I have no money, so I have no food in the house, no money to buy food. I don't think I was on food stamps anyway. So I went to a local church in Hartford, near actually across the street from the Mark Twain House, and it's Emmanuel Congregational Church. And I talked to the pastor, his name was Robert Edwards at the time, Pastor Edwards. And he said, Mr. Holmes, don't worry about it. He says, I'll give you a voucher. You can go up to there's a food bank up at the corner of Albany Avenue and Vine Street at Horace Bushnell Church in the basement. You can go there. They'll give you a whole cardboard box full of food, pasta, canned goods, all the stuff you need to get along. You know, you're not going to starve to death. So I still remember Pastor Edwards because to me, he was a saint, you know.
You'll never forget how somebody makes you feel.
How somebody, yeah.
Because that's something you dire needed at that time. Just like survival.
It was survival.
Yeah.
It was survival.
And we're not going to forget somebody that helped us in a survival times, right?
That's right. I'll never forget that man.
And is this your turning point of coming back to the rooms and getting sober?
Not really. I continued to drink I think one of the turning points was that I got a job driving a cab in Hartford. And again, it was desperation that I got the job. This was August of 1978. And at that time, Yellow Cab in Hartford their garage was on Farmington Avenue in Hartford, near Sigourney Street. Mm-hmm. The building is still there.
Yeah.
It's set back, would be a big parking lot, but that was Yellow Cab and Cotter limousine service were all in that one building there. Yeah. And so I went there and I talked to the manager. His name was Joe Corso. He was a little short Italian man, and I filled out the application. He looked at it, he said, you know, Mr. Holmes, you don't want to drive a cab. He says, you're lifting grocery bags in and out of the cab, lifting luggage trunks at the airport in and out of the cab. And I said, Mr. Corso, I need a job. He said, all right, we'll put you on. And so I got a job. They trained me, a few days of training, how to operate the meter and so forth. And in those days, we were employed. Nowadays, all cab drivers, I believe, are considered self-employed.
Yes.
So
there's not many left.
Not many left.
There's Uber, there's Lyft, there's all different things now.
That's the equivalent of the old cab drivers, basically.
A lot of people are like, cabs, what is he talking about? Yeah, a lot of the younger audience don't know.
They don't have a clue what that was.
I used to take cabs with my stepfather from my grandmother's house.
Oh, really?
When he was too loaded, we'd take the cab home, and it was only around the corner. I remember we'd have to make the phone call, okay, 777-7777 or 666-6666.
Yeah.
It'll be about 45 minutes to an hour, and you're only going right around the corner. Yeah.
But it's better in the cab because if like, let's say you take a fall or something like that, or somebody's going to try to rip you off or something like that, you know.
Well, I'm sure you had to help a few people in the back seat a few times.
Oh, I could tell you stories about that, Joe. Driving a cab, especially at night.
Party animals.
Party animals. I'll tell you a quick story. One of them. One night I was on Asylum Street in downtown Hartford. And there was a club there. I think it was probably Frank's or one of those. It's long gone now. And these two girls came out. Actually, three girls come out. And they had another girl were holding her under the armpits. She couldn't stand up. They said, take her to West Hartford. And they opened the door and they shoved her into the back seat and they closed the door and they went back inside the thing. So, you know, folks, West Hartford is a pretty big area. You know, there were 10 million streets in West Hartford, you know. So where am I going to take her, you know? So I said, I thought of it and I said, well, if I take her to the West Hartford Police PD, I can ask a cop and maybe he can help me out. So I did. I took to the West Hartford PD, which is on Raymond Road in West Hartford, right in the center of West Hartford. Now the police carry these special flashlights with about 4 batteries in the flashlight.
The mag lights. Yep.
Mag lights, and they're very strong. Now I tried to wake this girl up, and she was completely gone. I could not wake her up, and I wasn't about to shake her by the shoulders or anything like that. So I get to the PD, and there was a cop in the parking lot. And I can you come over here? And he did. And I says, can you help me out with? I can't wake this girl up. She lives somewhere. I don't know where she lives in West Hartford. He says, okay. So he shines it in her eyes. And she wakes up right away, you know. And he says, where do you live? She said, near Prospect and Farmington Avenue, you know. So I said, oh, okay. So then I asked the cop. I said, can you do me a big favor? Follow us down there and make sure that I get paid and that she gets out of the cab, and if necessary, I'll grab her under the armpit, whatever, take her to the door of her place, and that's it, you know. And he did. The cop was a very obliging cop. He did that. He helped me. I got paid. I got her somehow to the door of her place. After what happened after that, it was her business, not mine. Maybe she had to sleep outside that night. I don't know. But anyway.
Hey, you did a good deed, though.
I did my good deed, you know.
You went a little above and beyond.
A little beyond Beyosha. Another thing that would
It seems like something out of a movie because I thought you were gonna. I just heard I forget what the movie's called, but that happened in the movie. I don't want to say it's one with Denzel or something. Yeah, I think it is the one. He's the. Oh man, I can't even think of the name right now. But yeah, that same thing happened. They put a girl in the cab and he tracked them down. He found out what happened. I thought you were going that way with this, but yeah, because it was a scary situation. You know, when you're completely obliterated.
You
know,
oh my
dude,
God.
I've done things that I had to be told the next day what I did, and that's crazy.
It is crazy. And here's another quick story. If you want to listen to it, that's
real quick.
This
what
guy,
you got?
yeah, this guy was drunk as a skunk. He was unable. I drove him. It was a driving rainstorm. He could not get out of the back of the cab. So let's say it was like a $5 fare.
Yep.
So I had to play the Good Samaritan that day. I go around. Somehow he fumbled it. I got paid. I go around to the back. I open the door. I grab the guy under the armpits, and he's a fully grown man. I could not do that today. I grab him under the armpits. I drag him out of the cab. I drag him down the sidewalk to the door of his building in Hartford. Driving rainstorm, and I leave. I think there was like a little alcove. I probably opened the door, left him so he would be dry.
Yeah.
But he was completely gone, and that was, that was part of all the other things. Sometimes people would puke in the cab.
Of course.
Very, very, very unpleasant. Sometimes I would say, look, you've got to pay me $10 or something or clean it out yourself. But I mean, it's that goes, especially at night. That is part of the job, and but. I mean, I needed a job, and I always made money at it, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, but anyway, that's enough. I could go on tell you stories.
I know you got millions of stories.
Yeah.
But now let's speed up to recovery real quick.
Yeah.
What was the final straw? How did you get into what was the final done? I'm done. I'm staying sober. What was the final straw?
Well, when I told you that little story about me having the blackout that day, I mean, what happened? I think it was my age, number one. I was 41 years old at that point. Let's see. Yeah, 41, yeah. And I realized that I'm not 34 or 34 or 35 anymore. I'm 41. And am I going to go on like this with stuff like this happening for the rest of my life? And I said to myself,
You got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired of it, yeah. So I said, I got down on my knees that morning in the apartment, and I looked up and I said, please help me. Now, maybe I used the word God, I don't know, but the thought came in my mind, you need to go back to AA because that's the place where people go if they have a problem with alcohol and they don't know how to solve this problem. And so I did go back. That was a Tuesday morning, and I've been coming back ever since. And folks, in life, we have good days, we have bad days, or horrible days, and we have days that are somewhere in between. Most days are pretty much in between. We're not, it's routine stuff. It's nothing spectacular. No, not whatever. But so my life has been much better. I've been able to cope with which we all have difficulties in life. That goes with the territory. But I've been able to cope with all kinds of things. And so, that's what AA has done for me. It's given me some sense of serenity and also the idea that, I think maybe the most important, I am not alone,
Right.
Because I remember one time I was very drunk one night. I went to an AA meeting. I looked at the wall and there was a sign there. I was very depressed very depressed. There was a sign that said, "You are not alone." Now, this is 40 years ago, folks, so I do remember that made an impression. You are not alone. Because I felt so alone. Or as they say, lower than whale crap at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, this has been working since what, 1938?
1980. Well, yeah, that's right. When
Bill W.
Bill W. got started, and they wrote the big book and whatnot.
And it's really true. And like you said, I'm a guy who does multiple pathways because death recovery is expanding today. It's not just this way or that way or this way. It's so many different ways to recover. But you have to work a program, right?
Yes.
Because if you don't work a program, what's going to happen? What always eventually happens?
Relapse.
Of course.
Relapse. It always happens. It always happens. Or we switch addictions. That's the other thing. You know. In my case, I basically
replacement therapy, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I took up food.
You said healthy coping. Yeah, food, right? Jeez. Reese peanut butter cups. Too many of those. Pack on a couple Big Joe pounds,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You have to, like you said it before, coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
You have to replace the addiction with something healthy.
Yep.
Go out for a run. Go for a jog if you can. If you're younger and you can do it. Pick up reading, like you say. Doing other things in a healthy manner that is not going to harm you, right?
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. That's what it's all about. So I'm not going to do anything today that is going to harm me, or to the best of my knowledge, it will not harm me.
You're not intentionally going to harm yourself.
I'm not intentionally harm myself.
What you do, you go to different libraries all across the state, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he takes the city bus,
I take the city bus.
81 years old, 82 almost. So if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and you say you can't take the bus, you can. This man does it.
Yeah, that's right, folks. That's absolutely.
It's because you want it. You want to go get it.
I want it, and if I want to go to New Haven, which I do quite a bit, usually almost every weekend, I will go to New Haven on the train, because the train, it's only $8 round trip for a train ticket, and you're in New Haven in about 40 to 45 minutes. They have a shuttle that takes you from the train station right to the New Haven Green, the heart of New Haven, where the Yale campus is, and all that wonderful stuff.
A lot of knowledge down there.
Oh yeah, and it's New Haven is the atmosphere of it, to me, is different from what it is in Hartford. I mean, it's because of Yale, basically. And the bookshops, they have at least 2 really good bookshops, all kinds of free concerts, pay concerts, everything from rock and roll, like at Toad's Place on York Street, to the Yale venues at Yale University, the Woolsey Hall, which is a huge concert hall that's 125 years old there at Yale. All these things are available.
There's so much out there.
Yep.
There's not enough time in one day that you could spend just researching what's going on just in Connecticut.
Yeah.
There's so much to do. And that's what I do today. I explore things. If I think I got a little bit of free time, what can I sneak in? If there's New Britain at the Shell there, Wanted Hill Park, they have during the summer they have 2 hour, I think from 5 to 7 in the evening, they have concerts in the park. It's a beautiful family time, or it's just a beautiful time they got all the old school bands that come in from like the 60s, 70s, whoever's still around, kicking around, and there's nothing like it.
You've got the New Britain Museum of American Art there, which is a fabulous art museum.
There's so much to do in recovery that you can replace doing the negative lifestyle we lived. The negativity would just eat you alive no matter what.
That's the whole point, Joe. That's why if I'm not going to an in-person AA meeting or a Zoom AA meeting, I try to stay as busy as I can, because I know that's what's good for me.
That's right.
And recently I had an incident where I developed a pressure sore, of all places, on my bottom, which I'm dealing with right now. And I get wound care nurses come to my apartment twice a week. Once a week I go to the wound care center at St. Francis Hospital on the 4th floor. So I'm getting excellent care, and I also am trying to make some serious changes to my lifestyle as far as diet and vitamins and things like that.
But you're taking the necessary steps to do what you got to do to stay as healthy as you can.
To stay as healthy as I can.
And you're doing it. I remember just in Thanksgiving, I went to come visit you in rehab facility. You know.
Oh,
It's like,
that's right. Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
it's like you've come a long way because you were really hurting then.
I was. Yeah, I was in St. Mary's Home in West Hartford there.
Yeah. So.
And yeah, that was.
You were recovering pretty well for at your age. So.
Yeah.
I still got this voice thing from a couple months ago, and now I'm half your age.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know, it's life.
Yep, you're right.
Do the best we can.
Do the best we can, you know.
So, I want to lead us out with what's the one great piece of advice you can give someone, a newcomer or someone that's just looking to change their lives? It doesn't have to be anything AA related, because I know I don't spend too much time talking about the fellowships because we don't draw that public controversy. You know, I just like to speak about some of it because it's helped me and you, 40 years apart difference, contain and maintain our sobriety.
Yeah.
So what's one good piece of advice that sticks out to you that you would love to share with somebody, or something that you've heard that would encourage someone to be the best version of themselves?
Well, I would say stay busy with something creative in your life.
Creative.
Whatever that may be. I mean, some people want to have a job until into their 70s and 80s. I know a few people like that. Develop healthy hobbies. Drinking is not a healthy hobby. That is a very, very destructive hobby if you really get into it. Could be anything. Take up painting pictures, reading books, sports, going to basketball games, hockey games, baseball, whatever, tennis, whatever.
Do a lot of that.
Do all that stuff. Yeah, and that, because then you know you're not harming yourself by whatever this thing is, you know. And that beyond that, I can't say any more than that. It's just staying busy and trying to keep an optimistic outlook on life, you know. A realistically optimistic view of life.
Like a smart goal, attainable.
An obtainable goal, whatever. And sometimes it baffles me, I'll be honest. I don't know, like the big book talks about, sometimes a difficult decision and we don't know what course to take. But I find that if we take a course, whatever it is, then follow the consequences of that course and be prepared to face the consequences, good, bad, or indifferent, you know? Because no course in life brings absolute happiness, but I don't think that is part of our lives in this world, to be happy all the time. In fact, I think it's only very mentally ill people may have that, or it's not real, you know, because we all face ups and downs. We may try to avoid it, but it's there. And I met a guy and his wife in the nursing home, St. Mary's Home. He was 85 years old. His wife was much younger. He was mentally sound. His poor wife was sitting there, and I watched her face, and she could not talk. She had this blank stare in her eyes, just staring into space. And this man told me, he said, I don't know what he said, stay busy, you know, and I've tried to do that. And when I see a woman that physically seems to be healthy, but her mind in some way has disappeared, I don't know.
Could be many things that could have resulted in that. That's the one thing is we won't understand.
We won't understand, you know.
But
Could have been a stroke.
Yeah.
Could have been anything, you know. But I mean.
But to hear that from another person, and I say it all the time, 'cause I'm always busy. I'm always doing one of my jobs, or I'm working with another addict, or I'm here, I'm there, I'm with my daughter, staying busy. That's today. Stay busy.
Stay busy. That's the only way to have some degree of happiness in this world, in my opinion. You know, because I live in a building with everyone here is elderly or handicapped. There's a guy that lives down the hall. He has a thing called narcolepsy, folks. If you've never heard of that, that's a sickness where you can be talking to him.
Fall asleep.
He will fall asleep. Imagine if
there's a lot of things.
A lot of things can happen, you know.
Yeah. That's it.
Being paralyzed, yeah, all kinds of things, you know.
A lot of freak accidents.
There's a great guy. I remember met a man. He's been on dialysis for the last, I think he said 10 or 15 years in this building. It's a long time.
I've heard that before too.
You've heard that too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, imagine having to get hooked up to a machine 3 times a week, 3 hours a time.
Got to be grateful for what we do have.
For what we do have.
Because it can all disappear like that.
Yeah, it really could, you know.
So I commend those people that have very big difficulties and they're still staying positive. So if they can do it, you can do it. Dave, any last comments before we shut down?
No, I don't think so, Joe. I think that's about it. Yeah.
I want to appreciate you.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming on the show.
Okay.
And like always, I'm glad you're my friend. It's
Okay,
a pleasure
likewise,
knowing.
likewise, Joe.
Take care of y'all. Stay blessed. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. Yeah.